Hello, everyone. It's such an honor to be here on this panel with you. Thank you, my distinguished host, Dr. Syed, and everybody that is on the panel, distinguished guests and excellencies and royal highnesses. I am very, very happy and to be here with you today to discuss about, Sustainable Goal 16, and of course, all the sustainable goals as well, because, nothing is on its own. The first thing I want to say is, please forgive me for the noise. I'm in Greece right now, and I'm actually in a meeting. I just stepped out of the meeting so I can be part of this also beautiful conference, because I want to be part of this discussion. And I'm very honored and very pleased that I am a guest to represent, Africa and my people. And as a royalty, many people don't know that Africa still has royals. Many people think Africa is just composed of those nation states that are known to the world today. But Africa has a really long history of thousands and thousands of years of an immense rich culture and achievements that are really not well known to the world. And I am an example of one of these people of Africa, the Bakwa Luntu people of Kasai, who belong to the greater, Luba empire that used to be in all the way till the 19th and 20th centuries. So we are still there. The kings are still working for the population. We are what we call the power of proximity. So we are really involved into community work. And I think that when we're talking about sustainability, we have to think about a development from the bottom up rather than from a development from the top down. So in our communities, we have a lot of responsibility to see that our people get the benefit of everything that we can bring to them. So when we talk about development, oftentimes development and sustainability is almost like an oxymoron when we look at it under our perspective. Because, if development is only based on the values of the Western paradigm of saying, let's say developments is roads and buildings and cars and machinery and industry, sometimes it's like, how does that work with being sustainable? Because obviously when we look at the model of development of the Western world, and I'm talking about Western world and I'm extending it to Asia as well, or Russia and Asia and India, there is very difficulty to see how sustainable could this model be, because we still, using the ancient model, not caring so much for the environment and not caring so much for wellness. We don't measure wellness, we only measure profit. So long as we are in a system where there is only profit-based economy, it's going to be hard to, superimpose those two values of development, which is profit-based economy, development, and also the other values, which are sustainable value like environment and also people wellness and well-being. So this is where I believe people like me come into place, because we have to look at different cultures and what is development means to us. So development for me and for my people who are very rural people and live in a very, pristine natural environment that has not been affected yet by the drive for industrialization, it's a different idea when we talk about development. Development for us is how can we live better in our communities without, affecting the environment so bad, and without also disrupting, the way of life of the people that have been living like that for thousands of years. So I have villages and I have a lot of agricultural land. So development for me, it really has to be the fundamental value have to be about the people's happiness first. So people are happy not necessarily because they can fulfill all their material needs as it is forecast or foreplayed in the Western paradigm, where it's like buy more stuff, own more things, have access to more stuff, has access to more things. It's not necessarily one of the most paramount value of development. For us, development is how do we do it so the community as a whole can benefit from whatever we're bringing in without destroying the environment and without decaying the lifestyle and the culture of the people. So when I talk about, trading and exchange, we really want to make sure that we identify our needs properly, that we can supply for our needs on a local level more than to do export or import of, foreign goods. Because sustainability, one of the first idea is that we have to consume what's produced locally. And what's also healthy for us, because we still, use agriculture that is organic. We don't use a lot of, chemicals and everything like that. And yes, it's not up to the standard if you look at and superimpose it with the values of maybe the Western world. But for us, it's what we call sustainable, because we've been doing these kind of things for thousands of years. So I think that the cultural element has to be in place when we define what development means. Because if development is only something that is measured with tools and measurements of what the Western paradigm offers as being development, then we might not be able to do a sustainable development. So sustainable development will also have to incorporate different values, more variety, more diversity into the way we design our measurement tools and how we forecast ourselves into the future. So education, of course, is a big part of it. But education has not to be only in one way. When we look at Africa, oftentimes people think that they have to bring us stuff. They have to bring us education, they have to bring us healthcare, they have to bring us, and everything seems to be coming from outside into Africa. And very seldomly do we speak about a voice on saying, no. Africa also have to have indigenous and endogenous models of development that works best in the framework of the environment we have and the cultural environment we have. So Africa is also a bearer of different perspectives and different way of looking at tackling a problem. And I think that for too long, Africa has been put aside from the discussion. And if we were the poor parent of humanity, and we don't know much about what the future holds, and we have to be dependent on the vision of other people for Africa. Unfortunately, this is not going to work for Africa, and this has not really worked well for Africa. So I am one of those voices that do encourage humanity to take a second look at Africa and to really understand Africa better, to really bring about a broader perspective of the African experience all across the world. Africa is a continent where people have been living there consistently for 200,000 years. So 200,000 years of human experience is a really immense body of knowledge and know-how and wisdom. And I think that for some reason, because of the history of slavery and colonization, a lot of that history have been disregarded. And I think it's the right time now for Africa to come back in the forefront and to start having another way, a new dialogue with the world, and really propose also another way of looking at the problem and another perspective about how to handle, the situation. We have to be able to ask those questions. What does development mean to the world? But what does development mean to Africa? Because we may have another take on what is it that we can look for the future of our children and of our land. So the model of development that has been now proven to be flawed in so many ways, we have to revise it. And to revise it, we need the input of other people. We need diversity in the way we set the standards. And for too long, the voice of Africa has been in the back burner, as if it wasn't existent, because we were basically always waiting and seeing that, the diktats of other people, of other culture. And today, I think the situation, the global situation with the pandemic and also the economic turmoil that the planet is going to engage into because of, the aftermath of the COVID pandemic and how we handled it, is going to be a very promising terrain for more diversity to come around the table to discuss about the future of humanity as a whole. My greatest dream is to really have Africa back around the table of discussion with all the body of knowledge that we have accumulated over thousands of years, with all the wisdom, with all the understanding of how nature works, with all the different type of society and culture that we have been able to develop, to bring that wealth on around the world stage so that we can also be part of inspiring a new way of looking at a problem. Today, the pandemic has highlighted very interesting things about the model of development we have chosen. We look at the map, the world map, and we realize that most of the country that has been the most brutally touched with the pandemic are those countries that we call super industrialized countries. And it's quite interesting to see that despite all the material wealth accumulated, despite all the access to the most sophisticated healthcare, despite the fact that the food is readily available, despite all of that, those countries were the biggest hit during this pandemic. And this is revealing that maybe the lifestyle that is the product of this development model is a lifestyle that is not conducive to sustainability. It's a lifestyle that is not promoting life to sustain life in itself. So because of that, I think it's a great time we can start asking ourselves the question about how do we improve the model? And we can only improve the model if we are welcoming of diversity, if we understand that the other cultures around the world that have not been privy to impacting the model of development can now come around the table and propose alternatives. We do have COVID in Africa, but we do not have a COVID problem per se in Africa because we handled it in a different way. But also there are some elements that tend to let us know that there might have been some factors like the type of lifestyle we have that is not as stressful, maybe the type of food we eat that is not so processed, maybe also the use of traditional and organic natural medicine may have also played a role into shielding Africa for a catastrophe with the COVID, like many other so-called industrialized countries. So all these information that we're now gathering are starting to give us an opportunity to start a new reflection. But my core idea is that Africa today, more than ever, should be not only looked at as the next frontier for a wild industrial development and quest for more profit-based economy, but Africa should be looked at as a new proposal of how we can do things so that we can really be more in balance with the environment and with the thriving life on this planet. I think Africa could be a place for humanity where we can do over certain of the things that we have done, but with the corrections that needs to be done so we can bring about more balance and of course sustainability. I think Africa is a favorable terrain for a new experience in terms of how do we develop a different economic model. Maybe we have to start looking at circular economy. Maybe we have to look at resource-based economic model rather than just profit-based economic model. Today is a new day. I think there's going to be the pre-COVID era and the post-COVID era. And I think that I'm very hopeful that if we just open up our minds a little bit and we understand that solution can be very, very creative if we bring in different people and different mindsets around the table of discussion. And for too long, Africa has been silenced. Africa has been considered as the poor parent of humanity. And I want to tell you today, take another look, give another chance, learn about Africa, because many people don't know anything about Africa. They only know what the media tells them and what, the prominent problems of the continent. But they don't know a lot about what Africa not only brought to humanity as contribution, and I can only cite but few, like the binary code system is an African idea. For hundreds and hundreds of years, we've been using binary coding system, without which we could not program a computer today, without which we couldn't have this conversation today. So that's just a small example, and I could go on and on about mathematics being already used in Congo 25,000 years ago. So there is a lot of the history of the continent that has not been promoted enough to consider Africa as being a place of ideas, of fresh and new look to how we can tackle the problems that we have today about the environment and about also the quality of life. Because the model that we have relied on for now a couple of centuries because of the first industrial revolution, the second one, and now the third industrial revolution, are only based upon a particular culture. And I think it's time to infuse these models with much more perspective and much more diversity. So the work I do all over the world, it's about engaging into conversation, engaging into dialogue with people from all walks of life, especially people also in the academia, to know that we have to open up our perspective, to integrate novelty in the way we frame our minds, in the way we think about a problem, to give ourselves more depth of understanding because we are more inclusive of other cultures. And of course, I'm not just talking about Africa. I am also queen in Brazil, and that means that I'm also very inclusive to understanding other human experiences. And I think that diversity is really going to be one of the biggest tools to tackle the problems and to come up with innovative ideas about how to handle the future development of our planet. And of course, wisdom comes with age, and Africa being the oldest continent where humanity spent 3/5 of her existence. Because remember, we only start to leave Africa 70,000 years ago out of a 200,000 years existence of Homo sapiens sapien. So I am very happy to be here with you, to share some of my ideas and to listen to you and ask you to include diversity in your paradigm so that we can advance and we can be more creative in finding solutions together to the problems of development and sustainability. Thank you so much.